said, when I first wrote out my testimony, I just wanted everything that has happened with my injury, I wanted to throw it all out there. And if I came up and did that, it'd probably be like a 2-hour long thing. So when I recorded it, finally shorted it down, I sent it to Jeff. I was like, 11 minutes should be good. And then I did it last week, and I was like 13 minutes. The second service last week was like 15 minutes. This morning was probably like 17 minutes, so we'll see how long we go today. But everyone in this room has played some role in the recovery process and support of my injury over the last 10 years. Whether that's been intimately, been in my family or friends or close network, or just watching online. Even between the two services this morning, someone came up to me and said that they were part of the team on the ambulance that took me from the field to Akron Children's Hospital. And as I think of how I could pay back that love and support that this church and the community has given me, the only thing I could possibly think to do is share the hope and joy that I have in Jesus Christ with everybody, and hope that something I say can strengthen your desire to get the same thing. I've gone to Northside my entire life. I was baptized and became a child of God the day before my 11th birthday. Unfortunately, I quickly became a poorly behaved child of God. Through my middle school and high school years, I lived for the world, lived to fit in, lived to have as much fun as I could, try to feel popular, try to feel successful by worldly standards. I lived this way up until my senior night football season. During that game, since it was senior night, my parents escorted me out onto the field. And the announcer read a short bio that I wrote in front of the crowd. In that bio, I had stated how important my faith is in my life. Unfortunately, I wasn't living a life that would show that to be true. And so part of me thinks that the events that happened that night were more of a prove that your faith is important in your life type of thing. So as the game began, the first half was pretty boring. Actually, the score was 0-0 at halftime. The first play of the second half, I was on the kickoff team. And for those who don't know football very well, kickoff, your one goal is to run as fast as you can, and whoever catches the ball, tackle them. And I had done that 5,000 times since the age of 8 and knew what I had to do. So when the play happened, I did what I was supposed to do, sprinted down the field, and tackled the ball carrier. Unfortunately, this time it was a little bit different. As I made the tackle, a bunch of other players all converged at the same time, and the weight of the other team and my teammates all converged down on me. Now, at the bottom of the pile, my neck was compressed down and I suffered a serious neck injury. I didn't go unconscious, but my whole body went tingly and my head was a little numb. I didn't fully realize what was happening. My teammate, Anthony Petrilla, whose family also goes to Northside, reached down his arm to try to help me up. And I tried to reach my arm to meet his and realized that my arm wasn't moving, that I realized I couldn't move anything at all. The rest of that is sort of fuzzy, but there's a few things I remember. I remember apologizing to my coach because he said to never lay on the field because all it will do is worry your parents. And I also remember making my dad promise to not bother taking me off the field unless I would walk again. Well, I did get taken off that field into a hospital where they did x-rays. The x-rays showed that I had a crack in my C4 and C6 vertebrae and they compressed down, completely crushing my C5 vertebrae and pushing it into my spine. When the doctors got these results, they acted really fast, so fast that they didn't really have time to explain to me what was going on. Immediately, they put screws in my head to relieve the pressure on my neck and started prepping for surgery. I went into 2 10-hour surgeries and have scars on my body to show it. I have 12 stitches in the front of my neck and 36 staples in the back. Now, during and before these surgeries, I really had a moment where I didn't think I was going to survive the night. In fact, I thought for sure I was going to die. What this did was cause me to talk to God for a real conversation with God for the first time in a long time. I asked him to take this away from me. It was too much for me to handle. Send Jesus down to handle it for me because I can't do it. I got a message back to just keep fighting, a few more seconds, a few more minutes, a few more days, a few more weeks, just keep fighting through it. Now, through all this, since I was on a lot of medication and the stress on my body, I was in a state of confusion. I actually slipped into what they call ICU psychosis, where you kind of lose your brain because of so many changes and so many different things going on. In this time, this quote always comes to my mind. You won't realize that Jesus is all you need until Jesus is all you have. While I did have the support of my family and the community and the church, I was so out of my mind that truly in those moments, Jesus was all that I had to get through. Now, this state of confusion lasted about 3 weeks. I got injured on October 30th, and it wasn't until my sister woke me up on November 19th and said, "Hey, today's your half birthday," that I really have enough memories to put stuff together in a chronological order. Now, when I did wake up that morning, I looked at a poster on the wall in the hospital room that had my name and a picture of me playing football. I stared at that poster and I was in such a weird state of mind that I wasn't sure if that was me on the wall. Everything was just so different and confusing that I just wasn't sure of anything. As I stared at it, I figured it probably was me, otherwise it would have been a really strange hospital. And I probably was Kory, I probably did play football. From that point on, I was basically starting at square one physically. I had to relearn how to breathe, relearn how to swallow food, and everything else you can think of. I built a whole new life around rehab and rebuilding my body as best as I could. I was really successful. I was told I would never be able to breathe without a ventilator. I was told I would never be able to push my own chair, and I'm able to do both of those things now. But even with those physical gains, I was still struggling mentally. It was not till like a year or two after the injury that I realized that whether I was happy or I was sad, I was going to have a spinal cord injury. So it was my decision whether I wanted to be a happy person with a spinal cord injury or a sad person with a spinal cord injury. It was that simple. And on that day, I decided I might as well be a happy person with a spinal cord injury. So at that point on, I decided I wanted to build my future instead of just focusing on rebuilding the past. So I enrolled in school, and that had its own challenges. I had to learn how to go to school without being able to hold a pen or a pencil, or relearn how to use a computer with my limited hand function. I eventually figured out the school stuff and moved on through that. And a few years later, I was doing well at school, about to graduate, but I was still struggling internally. I was struggling because I had gone back to my middle school and high school life where I was trying to fit in with the world, live for the world, and ignoring my relationship with Jesus Christ. It wasn't until I hit an internal rock bottom that I realized that I really needed to renew my faith and commitment in Jesus. This was around the time that I decided I was going to go to law school. So when I showed up on the law school campus, I knew I wanted to find a Christian organization to join to support me in the new school. I found the Christian Legal Society, which was a group that met once a week during lunch to just comfort each other and study the Bible. Unfortunately, out of 500 students in the law school, only about 5 attended each week. And around the 5-year anniversary of my injury, so 5 years ago from now, I felt a strong conviction to share my testimony with my new law school classmates. So I did similar to what I did today. I shared it on Facebook, said, "Hey, come to our meeting, I'm going to share my story." And to my surprise, about 80 students showed up to our next meeting to hear my story. The really cool thing was some of the students that were there were international students that had never heard about Jesus before. There were also professors and maintenance workers that came. It was really an amazing experience. I had never stepped out and shared my faith in that way before that. And it was truly an uplifting experience to be able to do that. Now in my mind, I think God must have gave me a gift for doing that, because within 8 days of doing that, a girl named Kayla got in a really serious car accident where she also hurt her back. But because of that car accident, we connected on Facebook. And through our connection, speaking online, we eventually decided to meet up. At the time we met up, I invited her to come have lunch with me, and I was working for the Cleveland Browns at the time, so I invited her to come there. I strategically planned it so that it was Veterans Day, so actually the whole building was closed and I was the only one there. So I got to give her a tour of the place like I owned it, and our lunch date ended up lasting 3 hours. I quickly knew that Kayla was who I was meant to marry, and 7 months later, I brought her back to that same place with our whole family there and proposed to her, and she said yes. Over the next year, we graduated from school and planned a wedding, and I started studying for the bar exam. For some strange reason, we thought it would be a great idea to take the bar exam and get married in the same week. I say we took the bar exam because Kayla actually came down and was allowed to type for me on the exam, so she took it too. So we took the exam, 3-day test, came back on a Thursday night, and got married in this sanctuary on that same Saturday. I passed the bar exam, and the wedding was a bunch of fun, so even though it was a crazy plan, it all worked out. That fall after our wedding, we did something that was completely out of our comfort zone. We attended a small group mixer here at Northside. We had no idea what to expect and if we were really committed to it or what we were going to do about it. But when we showed up, a guy named Rich that you might have seen up here playing guitar walked up to us and said, "Hey, I'm starting a new small group. We'd love for you guys to join." And I looked at him kind of funny because he had said that they were meeting at his house. And he immediately was like, "Well, actually, we could meet at the church and then it would be a lot more accessible." So we joined this small group, and it was a perfect fit because a lot of the people in the small group were on the worship team. And as you saw earlier, Kayla loves to sing. But that small group has transformed my life more than anything else that I've already said to you today. Those 8 or 9 couples that we meet with once a week and study the Bible and fellowship with and just really love on each other has really transformed the way I live my life and want to live my life. It's created a 24/7 thirst for wanting to know God's will or wanting to know what's in the Bible, to where I would rather spend any free time I have learning something new about Jesus than studying the law or reading up on the most absurd thing the Browns did that week. So what lessons can we learn from my 27 years of life and 10 years with a spinal cord injury? The first lesson is that I am grateful for my injury. The injury has taught me so many things, and I wouldn't be where I am today without it. It's also protected me from a lot of things. If I was as independent as I would want to be, I would have been led to way more temptations in college that I was actually shielded from, even though I still made poor decisions before I renewed my faith. I also am humbled by my injury. When you don't have full control over your bodily functions or when to go to the bathroom, it's hard to maintain a strong ego. And anyone who's played fantasy football or board games with me knows that I could use a little humbling every now and then. Lastly, I've learned that I have to completely trust God. There's so many different things that could derail my day that I have to just trust God that I'll be able to get through it, to string enough days together to graduate from school, pass the bar exam, and hold a job as an attorney. Last of all, I know that the reason that my injury occurred was so that the power of God could be shown in my life. Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 12, 8 through 10, when speaking of his own injury, he writes that 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away. Each time he said, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ can work through me. For when I am weak, then I am strong." The first thing I notice about this is that it only took Paul 3 times to get the message from God. For me, I probably had to ask God about 3 million times to take away my injury before I moved on to the next thing of listening to what God had to say. But if Paul is willing to boast about his weaknesses, then so am I. So what are my weaknesses? I'm paralyzed from the chest down, which also includes my hands. My grip is really weak. I have constant nerve pain, which if you don't know what nerve pain feels like, it's a mix of that feeling when your foot falls asleep, plus a really bad sunburn, plus being on fire. And I feel that all day, every day, since the moment the injury occurred. Whether I'm sitting up, laying down, it's just a constant pain that I feel. And I'm also unable to do a lot of the things that I love to do in the first 17 years of my life, like playing sports or playing games outside. But through all these weaknesses, I can proudly say that I find joy and peace in Jesus Christ. And my whole purpose for sharing this whole story with you is that you can find something in my life that you can relate to that would make you feel the same way and make you turn your eyes towards Jesus as well. So whether you're going through a physical struggle like mine, a social struggle where you're not feeling accepted, or even just struggling with a really strong temptation, I hope that you'll turn your eyes towards Jesus, build a relationship with him, and that will help you get through it all. Thank you for listening to me today.